Journalists are unsubscribing from Xbox Game Pass. Could this be the end? We have great news about Stalker 2, and the FTC is looking to crack down on fake and manipulated reviews. But I feel like with Xbox, when it rains, it pours whenever there is negative news. The confidence in the Xbox brand seems to be extremely fragile among some of the bigger people within the video game industry. Whenever there is a negative announcement, whenever anything bad comes out, it just continues to roll and roll and roll. And that ball of negativity continues to get bigger and bigger until Xbox comes out and does a really positive announcement, which I'm assuming is going to be happening on June 12th. And as we know, that big negative announcement was the delay of Starfield and Redfall, which really pissed off a lot of people because there are no first-party Xbox games that we know of yet coming out in 2022. And with that delay, Xbox hasn't given us a backup plan, a contingency plan to make up for the lack of content without having those two games. But I have to say, me personally, if you come to my channel, you can tell I'm an Xbox-centric channel. I talk about the news. I talk about many different things within the news, not just Xbox if you go through my videos, but I'm definitely focused on Xbox news. I absolutely love what Xbox has been doing this generation, pretty much since they launched Xbox Game Pass in 2017. You can call me a fanboy, you can call me a fan. It doesn't really matter to me. I am just very happy what they have been doing with their consumer friendliness with the platform. And that's why I prefer Xbox right now over any other platform to play my games on. Plus there's other things like the backwards compatibility and just the Xbox Series X and S overall being, I think, great consoles. But when you look at what's happened this generation so far, since the launch of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and S in 2020, in my opinion, call it biased if you want, Xbox has done significantly better than PlayStation with giving value, providing content, and giving us a console that is worth purchasing over the PlayStation 5. And it seems like there have been so many negative announcements with the PS5 since it came out, just going back on a lot of stuff with Jim Ryan, them saying they believe in generations and then not believing in generations, them saying they weren't going to do subscription and follow Game Pass, now they're doing the PlayStation Plus stuff, and just a lot of stuff there with the overall release of the PlayStation 5 I don't think has been very good. And that, I think, is a fair take overall when you look at everything. You go back to last generation, you can say the exact same thing about Xbox. The Xbox One, in my opinion, was a terrible generation for Xbox. They did a ton wrong, especially at the launch, and it took them years to turn it around. Now, all that rambling is to say there are influencers, journalists who are now announcing that they are unsubscribing from Xbox Game Pass. And this has a lot of people talking. This has a lot of people going into social media, replying, discussing why they're announcing they're unsubscribing to Xbox Game Pass, and does this mean that Game Pass right now is failing? Are people dropping off because of the delays of Redfall and Starfield? And is there no content on Xbox Game Pass? Are there no games, as a lot of people like to say? So this is a tweet here from Gene Park saying, yeah, I'm unsubscribing from Xbox Game Pass for the first time ever. Gotta admit to myself, I barely use it and barely have use for it now. I'll be back, but for now, there's no point. We go down here into the replies. You have Cole Fleetwood saying, Xbox needs big new games every month or so, especially since 2022 has been so underwhelming. Paris saying, totally get it. And this is where the Redfall and Starfield delays can and will slow down Game Pass growth. If Xbox doesn't have enough compelling content this holiday, June 12th is going to be huge in that respect. Then you have a reply here saying, so 2 games got delayed and everyone is unsubscribing to Game Pass. You have MVG saying, I dipped a few months ago. There's nothing compelling there for me. Gene Park replying, yep, did my Gears of War run and I'm good. And you go down, there's a lot of people talking about this. Here's Tony Polanco, who replied to this thinking of doing the same, to be honest. Game Pass is a fantastic service, but my time is limited and I want to play AAA exclusives, not old titles and indies. And in fact, after tweeting that, he tweets this out, unsub from Game Pass, the service is great, but there aren't any AAA exclusives to compel me to stay. I'll be back when the titles start dropping. So there you have it. That's the thing that's going on right now. And that is that these big accounts are publicly announcing that they're unsubscribing from Xbox Game Pass. And that's completely fine. I couldn't care less if you unsubscribe from Xbox Game Pass. If you're not using it, unsubscribe, save your money. There's absolutely no point in playing and using the service if you don't want to play any of the games that are on there. Now, that's all well and good with people saying that they're unsubscribing or unsubscribing. I don't know why you have to announce it to the world. I'm assuming it's because it's pretty trendy right now to get the clicks and views right now on social media to talk about how you disapprove right now of what's going on with Xbox and Xbox Game Pass because of the delays in Starfield and Redfall. Completely understandable. But the one thing I completely disagree with is when people say there's nothing to play on Xbox Game Pass. And the reason I say that is because there are plenty of games to play on Xbox Game Pass. Pretty much any genre you want to check out, it is there. You have everything. RPGs, fighting, strategy, action, adventure, JRPGs. In fact, I'm actually playing Eiyuden Chronicle Rising right now, which is a great game. If you're interested in like a spiritual successor to the Suikoden series, go check it out. I think you will really enjoy it. There is something, and there's always stuff coming every single month. The fact that people don't want to dive in and try different stuff and only want to play certain types of games like AAA does not mean that Xbox Game Pass isn't valuable right now, and that people are going to be unsubscribing and running away from the service. But it is a very popular narrative right now to be annoyed with Xbox Game Pass, to unsubscribe, to leave it until June 12th. But it also puts into question, in my head at least, if you're unsubscribing right now from Xbox Game Pass because Starfield and Redfall got delayed, these games aren't coming out until the end of the year anyways, or weren't supposed to be coming out until the end of the year. Were you just sitting there all year so far? We are going into June. 6 months, were you just sitting there waiting for these games to come out at the end of the year and you were okay with paying your subscription while you waited for those games to come out? I would assume if you're unsubscribing because of those two games, I would guess you were never even using Xbox Game Pass in the first place, which would make sense why you want to unsubscribe. And I put out a tweet the other day and it kind of blew up a little bit. My Twitter isn't very big. Not that many people follow me. Not that many people like and share my tweets. And I don't care. I just kind of put out whatever comes to my mind, and whatever happens, happens. And I wrote this here. If you say there's nothing to play on Xbox Game Pass, you don't like games. And I'm half joking, but also half serious on this, because you look at what's available within Xbox Game Pass. I love the art form of video games. I love seeing what's out there. I love looking at all the different styles of gameplay, art, music, characters, and just trying something new. And for me, Xbox Game Pass has been absolutely amazing to do that. Every time there is a new indie game that comes out that I've never heard of before, looks really cool, I check it out, and I've been pleasantly surprised about how many great indie games there are. Even games from AAA studios or AA studios, I've been surprised about how many games I would have never played before if it wasn't for the service. My point with this tweet is, there are so many games to play. If you're just focusing on Starfield and Redfall, yeah, you're not really going to be wanting to play any games right now. You're probably not going to play any games anywhere until those games eventually release. But if you truly love video games, you truly love the art form, with Xbox Game Pass, it gives you that outlet. It gives you that option to try a bunch of new stuff. And I can guarantee you're going to find something you like within the Xbox Game Pass catalog, with whatever genre that you enjoy playing. All right, moving over here to some great news involving Stalker 2. So as we know, Stalker 2 is coming to Xbox Game Pass on day one. It is a timed exclusive for Xbox, and I would say probably one of the most anticipated games coming over to the platform and to the service. I'm extremely excited for it. When they showed it off at the Xbox and Bethesda showcase with that more in-depth trailer, the graphics were absolutely amazing. The gameplay looked like a ton of fun, and it quickly rose up the ranks for me as one of my most anticipated games. But it was supposed to be coming out on April 28th. It got delayed until December 8th. And then, as we know, with the conflict in Ukraine, understandably, it got delayed indefinitely as GSC Game World was just trying to survive and move their studio from Kiev to Prague. So we have some good news here for two things. The first, most important thing, it seems like the studio has been successfully able to move over, and they seem to be safe right now with everything that is going on. And the second good news is it seems like they have resumed development on Stalker 2. It says here, now speaking on the game's official Discord channel, one of the company's developers responded to a fan asking if development had resumed by saying it continues. So great news on both of those fronts. Now, will this game release on December 8th? It still has a release date of December 8th, but I would be extremely shocked if they're able to get it out by then. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with the release date. I don't think it really matters at this point. As long as they can get this game out, I think people will be satisfied because of all of the stuff they've had to go through. And it's just great that this game isn't going to get destroyed. They're still going to be able to create this product that they've put their heart and soul into, and a lot of people are very excited to check it out. Okay, finally, to end things off, let's talk about this. This has to do with the FTC and them looking to crack down on influencers and platforms over fake and manipulated reviews. Now, this is extremely relevant, especially if you've been following what has been happening with the Xbox Ambassador program with Deus Geek, who came out, defended Phil Spencer after everybody was getting on him about the Starfield and Redfall delays, and then seemingly admitted that she didn't play video games and that she was part of the Xbox Ambassador program to be a positive influence on the community. I actually made a video talking about this. My take on it was that you look at what the Xbox Ambassador program is, and she fits right into exactly what they are looking for. So there's absolutely no issues I have with people criticizing her takes, the things that she says, and all of that type of stuff. But using the Xbox Ambassador program as a way to continue to pile on, I think was wrong, because she literally fits into what the Xbox Ambassador program is looking for. And if anything needs to be changed, if you don't think that that is a good thing, it's the program that needs to be changed so that people who play more games, who are more hardcore gamers and actually have real opinions from their experiences from playing certain stuff, will be a part of that program. But fake and manipulated reviews is definitely an issue. I mean, we've seen this across the industry. We had the stuff with, I think, Cyberpunk setting out all those chairs, and you have people just promoting the game even though it came out in just such a terrible state, and all the people with those chairs kind of ignored that. You had the stuff with Gran Turismo 7 and the fake and manipulated reviews on Sony's part by leaving out microtransactions to the review copies for the reviewers, and the game got just such high reviews, even though it clearly did not deserve that because of all of the issues it had when it came out to everybody else. And just in general, you go on social media and sometimes it's hard to tell which accounts are being paid to promote stuff, which will completely influence somebody's buying decision, even if the product they are being paid to promote isn't actually nearly as good as what they are saying. I do believe that is a problem when it comes to the Xbox Ambassador program as well. My thoughts on it are continuously evolving. I've read comments from people on that video. I've read other people's social media takes on it. And I think at the very least, with Xbox ambassadors, like Deus Geek, she does say she's a part of that program. So you should know at the same time that she's being positive and pushing out Xbox stuff, she's doing it with an incentive to do it because she's a part of the Xbox Ambassador program. And that's not to say that all Xbox ambassadors don't play games. I'm sure there are Xbox ambassadors that play way more games than a lot of people out there. They just love the platform, want to be a part of it. But now the FTC is looking into drawing a harder line against fake and manipulated reviews, which again, I think is a good thing. It says here, now it looks like the FTC is preparing to draw a harder line against stealth advertising and endorsement disclosure, as it has voted to consider updating its guidelines against fake and manipulated reviews. Now, there are a couple of things that the FTC is trying to target here, and that is influencers, the use of social media, the targeting of children with advertising, and something called micro-targeting. So it says here, the proposed changes don't just target influencers. The notice of recommended revisions also includes a warning to social media companies that their influencer tools may not be adequate to meet legal requirements, which opens them to potential liability. It also says here that companies who make use of consumer reviews in promotional materials should not distort or misrepresent what people actually think of their products. And that happens all the time. But the first thing that actually popped into my mind when I read that, it may not be the most popular thing people know about, but it has to do with the Intellivision Amico. There was this big scandal about that retro console that they were trying to remake, which seemingly seems like it is a scam now, or they have no more money and it's never going to come out. But there was a video that took and manipulated influencers' words and cut it up to make it look like they were talking positively about the Intellivision Amico, when they were actually being more cautious about their thoughts on if the Intellivision Amico was going to succeed or not. They also say here, micro-targeting specific audiences will also come under greater scrutiny under the proposed new rules. Now, when they talk about child advertising, this is a big one, and I think it's great that they're going to be cracking down more on this. And it says here, child-directed advertising is also highlighted as being of special concern because children may, and let's be honest, will react to advertising and influencers differently than adults, regardless of disclosures made. And that's definitely true. I mean, you can see some of the stuff on social media that are clearly targeting children for advertising, because hey, a child sees something that looks exciting, they're not going to have as much critical thinking as an adult to kind of decipher whether this is advertising or not, or whether this is somebody just blatantly being paid to promote a product. It says here, practices which would not ordinarily be questioned in advertisements addressed to adults might be questioned in such cases. And finally, online reviews and influencer endorsements are ubiquitous on the internet, and they present real and new challenges. Unlike yesterday, celebrity endorsers, influencers are often seen as experts in the market, whether that's for fashion, health products, or cutting edge consumer technology. And then they continue on talking about how influencers are always interacting with their followers, which makes a higher chance that they're going to be able to deceive them and not give them the full truth when they're talking about a product. Now, here's the thing. That's specifically, I think, has to do with that issue with the Xbox ambassador that people were talking about the other week. They clearly were not experts on the products that they're talking about. And after reading that sentence, when I went through this article, it made me start to rethink a little bit of my overall view and take on that scenario. Because yes, I still think people were reaching for the Xbox ambassador thing, saying that it was for hardcore gamers when it clearly wasn't. The actual guidelines to get into the Xbox ambassador program are public. You can easily go look them up yourselves. You really don't even have to play games to get into it. You have to have a gamer score of 1500. And they were using this narrative that you have to be a hardcore gamer to be an Xbox ambassador. And because she's not a hardcore gamer, you can't listen to anything she says, which, I mean, you can listen to certain things she says, but when it comes to games that she's never played before, or games that any influencer have never played before, barely played, and then they start putting up positive content and positive reviews about that game, I don't think that's good. And hopefully stuff like this will reduce that so people can get true opinions and true reviews on games that they're interested in playing. But we'll see what happens with this. Fake and manipulated reviews are prevalent. It's always happening. So the more that we can get rid of those, the more honesty you get in the industry, I think it's for the better. That's it for me, guys. Let me know your thoughts on Xbox Game Pass. Do you agree with me? Do you think there's tons of games out there to always play on the service, or are you going to be unsubscribing from Xbox Game Pass? What are your thoughts on Stalker 2? And what do you think about the FTC cracking down on fake and manipulated reviews? If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here, if you liked what you saw, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video. We'll be right back.